Hey, this is Russ. I haven't smoked anything on my smokers in a while, so I figured it would be a good time to do it. Yeah, but it's 25 degrees outside. It actually doesn't matter. Yeah, I've smoked things in the cold winter months before. But I have a welder's blanket, and I usually wrap that around the smoker. But this time I didn't do it because it really wasn't as cold as it can be here in the Chicago area. Yeah, it was about 25 degrees, 25 to 30 degrees today. So I decided to smoke up 2 pork butts. Now, typically I will do one at a time, but sometimes I'll do 2. And if I do 2, I have a couple of choices. Now, I have all 3 of the Weber Smoky Mountain smokers. I decided to use the 18.5-inch smoker, which is the middle size. Now, I find that one actually gives me the most versatility if you're not cooking a lot of stuff. Now, 2 pork butts might be considered a lot, but yeah, the 18.5-inch smoker can handle it because you have a middle grate and you have a upper grate. So put one on the bottom, put one on the top, okay? Now, I do some things that are a little bit different, and I'm going to show you my technique of how I do it, and it didn't take that long, really. The way I do my smoke my pork butts, I can finish mostly within about 6.5 hours, something like that. And I know a lot of people who do pork butts will take 12, 13 hours to do it. But you're going to see in mine's, it comes out pretty good, and it's half the time, okay? So let's go on, and let's take a look. The charcoal that I use is standard Kingsford charcoal. It's nothing special. It's a standard stuff that you can get at any store, really. And what I do is I put enough charcoal in there that will last the entire time for the cook. And I move out the center so that I can pour the lit charcoal in the center. This is called the minion method. It allows the charcoal to burn longer because it doesn't burn everything at one time. It just starts in the middle and starts moving itself out as far as the fire is concerned. Now, I use a chimney starter to do this. I actually put the wax cube in the inside because it was so cold. It wasn't working the way I normally do, which I usually put it underneath the charcoal chimney starter. I do use the water pan, and I will fill up enough so that when I put this in, it'll last the entire cook time. Okay. Now, I do a little bit different in that I use a pizza pan as a cover, and I put aluminum foil over the pizza pan. So what happens here is that all the drippings will drip onto the aluminum foil, making it easier to clean up later. Now, as far as wood, I'm using hickory this time. This is just the last of what's in this bag. So everything that's there, I'm just going to pour it all in there. And then, of course, I'm going to move it to the side so that the lit charcoal can go in the middle. Now, the pork butts that I bought was actually 2 of them in a pack. I was kind of forced to buy 2, so I said I'm going to cook both at the same time. And total weight on this was 15 pounds between the 2 of them. Now, typically when they do this, they're giving you a deal on it at 99 cents a pound, but of course there's a lot of fat cap there as well. So I'm going to remove the fat cap on there. Now, I know some people like leaving the fat cap on there because they figure as it renders out, it moistens the meat, but it gets a little greasy, and you don't eat all that fat anyway. So I typically remove it. Plus, pork butt has a lot of internal fat as well, so it's got enough, in my opinion. I've never really had a problem removing the fat cap and still keeping things moist. But as you can see here, it's quite a bit. Now, I apologize for the camera not being perfectly centered. I am using a GoPro on my chest mount, so I can't really see what's being recorded. I'm just hoping for the best. Now, the thing that I do that's a little different is I cut my pork butts in half. Now, you see the bone. I position it in one particular position and then cut down. This way, the pork butt essentially is cut in half. It's not as thick, and this is how I speed up my work. So I'll do that for both of them. Again, removing the excessive fat cap. That's a lot of weight right there. And of course, since we don't eat it, your 99 cents a pound really comes out a little higher than that. My wife had wondered if you were paying the $149 a pound, is that actually cheaper than what this would be after you remove the weight of the fat cap? But This one's not so bad, so 99 cents a pound wasn't a bad deal. But there's quite a bit, eventually this stuff will render out for most of it, but with this much on there, that's a little too much. So after taking that out, of course, I look for the bone and looking for the position of it, and I usually cut it on that diagonal, trying to make the two halves thinner. And like I said, it really does speed up the cook. If I left it whole, like most people will do, I wouldn't doubt 11 to 12 hours on a slow cook would be not impossible. I'm using Kick Butt Rib Rub. This is Chipotle honey. I like this stuff. I've used quite a bit of it in the past. And so, I had a hard time finding this. I actually found it at Walmart.com. You had to buy like 6 or 8 of them, but I go through quite a bit of it, so that's fine. Now, you can put as much as you want on here, but the thing is, it doesn't get through to all of the meat. And of course, if you have a really thick pork butt to work with, you're not getting all the way down to the inside. I don't care how much you put on there; it's going to take a long time to get it to the inside. So, cutting it in half actually gives you more bark this way because there's more surface. So I'm not gonna show you the doing all of the 4 of these things, but to kind of give you an idea, I cover every side that's exposed with the rub. All right. So anything that's exposed, I make sure there's a little bit more on there. So once the charcoal's all ready to go, I'll take it out of the chimney and just pour it right into the middle. And eventually it'll light up all the other charcoal in time, and that's what you're trying to do, is extend the time. Just put the middle section in there. Put on the middle grate. Now I have 2 of the ThermalWorks smoke units. So these are 2-channel units. They now have a 4-channel version, but since I had the 2-channel, I ended up buying a second 2-channel unit. So I have 4 leads that I'm sending through here. So I'm going to put 2 of the probes into the sections that are in the middle grate, and then on the top grate, I'm going to put the top grate probe, and then also the pit temperature probe on the top. Yeah, you get quite a bit of wires here, but I try to keep it separate so that I know which one goes to where. So as you see how it's hanging, the tops are hanging to one side and the middle grate ones are hanging to the other as it's heating up. You want to get the temperature up to a certain level, and you want to make sure that you have cleaner smoke going through. Now what I decided to do is I was going to put the ones that have bone in the middle grate, leaving the 2 that go on the top grates. Those will be the ones without the bone. And the key here is you want to put the temperature probe right in the middle of the meat, because it reads the tip, so you want to make sure that tip sits right in the center. So this is a lot of meat. Like I said, it's 15 pounds before the fat cap was removed, and we have plenty of space here, so I'm going to put the probe in one. I don't have five probes here, so I'll put it in one of the ones on top, and then the pit temperature one will be on the top of the grate. And sometimes I reverse this and put it underneath the grate, but we have a lot of space on there, so putting it on the top is fine. So we're starting out at 244 degrees for the pit temperature, and the internal meat temperatures were around the 40-degree ranges. After a couple hours, and when the thing has hit the stall, I typically will put it into an aluminum tray that has some water, and then I will cover it with aluminum foil. So this would be the equivalent of people wrapping, but since we have trays, this is a lot easier than using all aluminum foil. Plus, it allows me to put some water in there, which will essentially give it some steaming effect, as well. Now, some people say, well, that ruins the bark, and that is true. It does ruin the bark when you do that, but we're pulling this thing, and I'm fine with that. So, and again, cutting it in half, because you are going to be pulling this pork, it doesn't really matter what it looks like, because it's going to be all demolished once you pull it. So, and again, putting back the probes to make sure you get a good temperature reading out of this. You do go through a lot of aluminum foil, that's for sure. So I seal it off as best I can so it gets a good steaming effect. And then I just let this go until we hit the temperature that we need, which is typically at least 197 degrees. And that's going to break down all collagen. I usually push this till about 203, 204 degrees. That's what I like it at. So after that's hit that temperature, I've taken it out. It took about 6.5 hours to get to this level. Now you can see the water and all the fat that has come out of it, and that's in there. You could actually use that to moisten the meat as well, but what I usually do is I will put the juices back in later, but I make sure that I get all the oil out of it first. I let the oil rise. So you can see how fast this thing really pulls apart. Now I'm going to show you the entire pull to show you that the 4 pieces are pretty much even as far as, not one of them is hard to pull and the other ones, are easy. So all 4 of these things pulled really easily. So I know that people use those forks to kind of help, pull it apart. But as you can see here, I'm just using my fingers. And I use a rubber glove that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, this thing is pulling apart very, very easily. So when people say that, you can't do it in a short amount of time, yeah, you can. 6.5 hours. I do it all the time at 6.5 hours typically. And pit temperatures eventually will rise. I think it had risen between, roughly around 240. It had gotten as much as like 265, 270 degrees even. And we're talking outside temperatures were 20 to 30 degrees. What really makes it tough is not really the degrees. You can see how easily this bone pulls out. It's really the wind that causes the problem. The wind getting through the vents and everything. But it was not a windy day today, so I was going to use a welder's blanket to cover the smoker because it's helped in the past, but it wasn't windy and it wasn't really as cold as it can get here in Chicago. So I said, yeah, I'm going to skip it. I'll just do it as is. And here's the final one with the last bone in here to kind of show you this. And again, this pulls out very, very easily. It's kind of the thing that kind of tells you if you're doing it right or not. If your bone can pull out like this, you've got decent pulled pork. So, but yeah, you can see, I can pull this apart by hand very easily. I don't need any special forks or anything like that to help in the pulling process. I've done enough of these now that I know that it is successful typically when I do it. Took a while. Oh, and I do let this rest for about 15 minutes or so, sometimes a little longer, but because of the video, I just wanted to get it done with. So, and yeah, you will have to go through because there is internal fat in a pork butt, so you have to go through, look a little bit, and then pull away some of that extra fat and the like. So overall, yeah, smoking is not hard in the winter. I smoke, all the time. Haven't done it in a while, but yeah, I don't really care what the temperature is. I can still smoke anytime I want to smoke. So there you have it. It's pulled pork in the winter. Yeah, this stuff is pretty good. Yeah, so anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button, and hit the subscribe button. I'll talk to you guys next time.